So what's a good side hustle to make money? Well, you, my friend, are in the right place because I'm here to talk to you about what's working best today. So side hustles are all over the place and they're all the news. And why? Because people are having a tough time financially, especially maybe young people getting started or older people heading into retirement or people that are even retired that just need to make some extra income. Because let's face it, everything has gotten so expensive, especially housing. Rents have shot up. Cost of a new car used to be $37,000 on average, just not too long ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Now the average car is a little over $47,000. Crazy, right? So how are you going to make it in a world like that? And my suggestion is a side hustle is a great way to do it. And you may even want to grow it into a full-time business so that you're not under the eye of the boss or under the whims of the boss who decides they need you or they don't need you. They want to pay you more, they want to pay you less, or they want to give you lousy work to do or good work to do. So looking at a side business, which I think is what you should be talking about, not a side hustle, but a side business, meaning something you do to make some money that has the potential to grow as big as you want, but that you can keep small if you want to. And I've got the perfect thing for you. The business I do is called Overages. And what I do is I help people that have lost their property to foreclosure get back a large refund that can make a huge difference in their life. And these refunds can be anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars, occasionally even hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you can just work on small ones if you want to. There are refunds that are available that are $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 also. So we're going to talk today about all of those different kinds of refunds, what's involved and how this works, and why this truly can be the perfect side hustle for you. Number one for a side hustle, I think that you should look for something where you don't have to do a huge amount of preparation, meaning you don't need to get an extra degree or spend a lot of time training or anything like that. The second thing is I think you want to look for something that has a low startup cost. What I mean by that, I mean something where you don't have to break the bank, you don't have to borrow money from friends and family to get your business started, and you don't need to go into debt. I can tell you from personal experience and from helping many clients in my years as an attorney that when people get involved with taking out a lot of personal debt to start a business or giving large personal guarantees and connections with loans, that can end very badly and it represents a lot of risk. So you do not want to do that. What you want to do is pick something where you don't need to make a big investment, where you can invest, yes, your time and your effort, but then you get returns from that. Not where you're investing a lot of money and hoping to get a return, because if things don't go right and you've borrowed that money, you may have to pay it back if you have a personal guarantee, or if you borrowed it from friends and family, your cost could be absolutely ruined relationships. So I like businesses where you're not borrowing money, where you're not digging out your savings, where you're not clearing out your 401k. I like businesses like that. And those businesses are generally service businesses. Now, what's a service business? A service business means that you're doing something for someone else. It's not something where you're opening up a store or where you're getting an inventory and then trying to resell it. Instead, a service business is where you offer to do something for someone else, and in exchange, they pay you. And in the ideal service business, you're not buying an inventory of any kind. Instead, you're just offering your service. That's your inventory, your time. And if that's not taken, then you still have your time. You're not losing anything. So I very much believe in that. That's why I'm not a big fan of a business, say on Amazon, where you would be trying to buy, a container from China, bring it over here, and then resell everything and hope that it sells, hope that the quality is good, hope a whole bunch of things. Because any place where there's hope, there can be business failure. And I just don't like businesses, especially at the beginning, where you're investing a lot of capital or taking a lot of risk. And service businesses are generally going to fit that mold perfectly well for you. So the business I do is a service business. That's called Overages Recovery. And here's the way it works. When someone loses the house to foreclosure, either because they didn't pay their mortgage or they didn't pay their real estate taxes, when there is extra money left over from that sale, that money is available for the former owner to put a claim in for. Now, let me talk about how that works. So when they sell a property, for example, a tax sale, they're starting the bidding at the taxes that are due. And they do that because as long as they sell the property for enough to pay the taxes, the government is satisfied. And if the property sells for more than that, which is very, very common for reasons I'll explain in just a minute, when it sells for more than the taxes that are due, that extra money is set aside waiting for the former owner to come put a claim in for it. Now, if they don't put a claim in, which they usually don't, matter of fact, 72% of the time they do not put a claim in for the money simply because they don't know about it. Now, when they don't put in a claim, that money is kept by the government. If someone does put in a claim, they do get the money, no question about it. But if they don't claim it, government sort of shrugs their shoulders and says, well, I guess they didn't want the money, and they just keep it. Now, of course, it's not true. Everybody wants their money, but the reason people don't claim the money is they don't know about it. It doesn't occur to people that when they lose their house to tax foreclosure, or for that matter, mortgage foreclosure, that someone could possibly, have extra money for them. They think they sold my house, so I guess they keep the money, and they sort of slump off, depressed, sad, calling themselves terrible names in their head, and they just go off to try to rebuild their lives. What doesn't occur to them is, well, they collected enough money to pay the taxes, but they collected a lot more than that. I wonder what they do with that money. That doesn't occur to people. Secondly, they usually don't know what it's sold for because they don't go to the auctions. No one's going to the auction to watch their house get sold to some bidder at an auction. That's just too sad. People are instead just trying to figure out, where can I move to? I've got terrible credit. How am I going to afford a mover? How do I tell the kids? Can I take the dog? Oh, this is terrible. I'm such a loser. That's what's going on in their head. That sort of panic. What's not going on is, oh, I better go to the sale and really investigate this. Or, oh, I'll go hire an attorney. Yeah, right. You're going to hire an attorney at $400, $500, $600 an hour when you don't even have enough money to pay your real estate taxes or your mortgage? I don't think so. So these people are not well advised. They have no idea. So the government statistic is that 72% of the time they do not claim their money. The rest of the time, 28% they do claim it, but essentially 3/4 of the time they don't. So what does that mean to you as an entrepreneur looking for a side hustle? Well, what it means is that these monies that are sitting there unclaimed, that are claimable by former owners, are monies that you can access and get for people in exchange for being paid for your services. And for your services, you're going to be paid a percentage of the money you recover. Now, you're going to set those fees yourself, just like I set the fees in my business because I'm in this business. But what we do on a day in, day out basis in this business is we get lists of the monies that are being held. Those are easy to get, public record. And then we get the contact information for the people that this money is owed to. And then we reach out to them. Typically on the phone, we call them up and say, hey, Fred, so glad I got a hold of you. There's some money that you're eligible to claim, and if you're interested, my company specializes in doing that work. We're happy to go claim the money. If and when we're successful, which we believe we will be, then we'll get a percentage. If we're not successful, it doesn't cost you a penny. Absolutely no risk to you. Do you want to know more about this? So very easy conversation. Of course, you're stepping over the skepticism, which will inevitably be part of this. And if you're wondering what's the difficulty in this business, it's just getting through the skepticism. And for that, you just need to spend time with people. You need to talk to them, you need to build a little rapport with them, and you need to point out this is an absolutely risk-free offer. You don't need their personal information, you don't need a deposit. All you need is their permission to go and pursue this money, and if and when you're successful, they'll get a windfall. If you're not, it won't cost them anything. So simply, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So this is a great offer. We do it day in and day out. And there are literally thousands and thousands of people that need this help. Right now, we have an internal database of monies available in the country right now, and it's over $350 million. And over time, it's growing and growing because the economy is tough for a lot of people. There are more foreclosures happening, and there's more money being held. And that represents, by the way, over 14,000 live claims that are claimable. And as I said earlier, these come anywhere from a couple $1,000s to more typically tens of thousands of dollars. I would say the sort of norm is between $50,000 and $90,000 left over after a sale, and then a few that are in the six-figure range. And the few, meaning there are plenty of them, but the majority is in that sweet spot, which I would say $50,000 to $90,000 is the sweet spot. And why is that? Well, let's face it. They're selling a house, when you're talking about a tax sale, they're selling a house for probably 3 to 4 years worth of unpaid taxes. At the end of the day, that's probably 10 to 15% of the value of the house. When a property goes up for a tax sale auction, it's likely to sell for about 80% of its value. So if you had a $100,000 house, just to keep the math very simple, you're talking about owing probably $10,000 to $15,000 in taxes. A property probably sells for $70,000 to $80,000. So even if it's sold for the lowest amount, $70,000, even if they owed the most amount, $15,000, there's still $55,000 left over sitting there waiting for the former owner to claim. Now, they don't know about this money, and the government really doesn't do much to tell them about it. Why? Because if the people don't know about it, they won't claim it, and the government just gets to keep it. So there's an incentive for them not to say much. Now, I will say, in fairness to the government, if you apply for the funds, which is a pretty straightforward process, they'll refund the money. They don't have an issue with doing that. But if you don't apply, they shrug their shoulders, keep the money, and do whatever they want with it. Usually they dump it into their general fund and just use it like slush fund money. So, it's kind of like tax money they're not accountable for. No one gets mad because the people who paid don't even realize it. I think this is so wrong because that money represents equity in the person's house. Money that they earned by owning the house, by keeping it over many, many years. And yeah, did they fall down at the end? Sure they did. But things happen in life. People get sick, spouses die, things happen in life, and people don't lose their house at tax sale because they just don't feel like paying their taxes and sort of shrug their shoulders and say, I'm not paying. They do it because they're in a very tough spot financially, which is one of the reasons I love this business. I love it because we're helping people who just have been kicked to the curb. They've had a tough time in life, and we're coming along saying, hey, we can offer you some help. Would you like some help? And we help them. Truly a great business if you want a business where you help people and you make great money. And this is accessible to anyone. I teach people how to do this business. I'm an attorney. I've been doing the business since 2014, so for a very, very long time. I love the business. I've probably the biggest overages business in the country. I don't know what everybody else does, but I know for us, we have at any given time millions of dollars worth of claims under contract. Right now, as I film this video, it's $6.2 million worth of claims under contract. We'll finish those up in the next couple months. We'll get a bunch of money to people. We'll make a bunch of money ourselves. And we feel great doing it. It's a wonderful, wonderful business where you can help people and make great money. So if that's something that appeals to you, helping people and making great money and having a business where the startup costs are very, very low. Why? Because what are we doing? We're getting public records lists that are generally free. In the rare instances when we have to buy them, they're $4 or $5 for a list. And a list gives you enough stuff to work on for weeks. Plus, what are we doing? We don't need an office. We're just picking up the phone and calling people. We're sending people messages over LinkedIn and Facebook, and we're reaching out to them. And then when they say yes, we're sending out one of our folks to go do the sign up. That typically costs $60 or $70 to do. They return the papers. We turn them in. We wait for a check. When we get the check, we deposit it. We send the person their portion, and we keep our portion for ourselves. So you don't need an office. You don't need a big staff. You don't need fancy equipment. Your equipment you need is an internet service, a laptop computer, and a phone. All things you probably have. So not a difficult business, really a great business, and it's a business where you help people. And unfortunately, this business is growing by leaps and bounds. The economy is not great for people at the bottom. They're having a tough time. So more of them are losing properties at tax sale. So it's a growing business. I wish I could say differently, but the fact is it is a growing business. There are plenty of leads for you. There are plenty of leads for me, and I'm happy to teach you this business if you'd like to learn it. So next step, if you want to know more, I put a link down below, which is my intro to the Overages Business video. It's free right here on YouTube. Just click on that. We'll spend 15 to 20 minutes together. I'll get into more details on this. And if you want to go forward from there, then I have some longer training that you can do, and we offer a full training course in this. I'm an attorney. I know how to do this business. I'm happy to teach you. Just become one of my students. So this is Attorney Bob Diamond. Hope this has been useful. And trust me, this is the world's greatest side hustle that can grow as big as you want. So go check out the intro to the Overages Business video, and I will see you over there.